Speaking with John Lennon, British Beatle extraordinaire.
British Beatle, thank you.
Your tour here in Los Angeles is drawing to a close. I wonder if you have any particular comments to make about your visit to Los Angeles, John.
Well, it's been great and thrilling, and we saw a couple of film stars, which we wanted to do, It's just great, and the bowl was marvelous.
What did you think about the audience and the way most of the people, there were more than 17,000 persons in the Hollywood Bowl, and of course not all of them teenagers, but for the most part they were young adults and your fans. I wonder if you'd care to comment on the way they conducted themselves the night of your performance.
Well, it was so good. It was almost too well behaved, They were very good, weren't they? I've never seen a crowd so big, so well behaved. Really, somebody did a great job.
Have you had a chance to listen to America's commercial radio at all since you've been here in Los Angeles?
We do nothing else all day.
Did you listen to KRLA?
Well, I would like to say we listen to them all, you see. We have a sort of transistor thing each, and we just have them all on at various heights. On whichever record we like, we just turn that one up.
What exactly do you think of our commercial radio as opposed to the type of radio that you're accustomed to in England?
Well, it's great, but they've just started a couple in Britain now, pirate ships they call them, off the British coast. Similar, only, in a sort of more modified British way. But you get good records all day, which you never got before. But I love it. Yeah.
Of course, we have more commercials over here, probably just as much commercialization with advertising as we do with records. Do you feel there's an overabundance of commercials on our radio stations?
It does seem a lot when you just come out here. I suppose if you're used to it, it's nothing. Because when people come to Britain and see the advertising there on TV, they think it's awful. People that haven't got commercial TV, so you just get used to it.
I understand you were the one that was responsible for the name of the group, the Beatles. Yeah. Could you tell us exactly how you decided upon that name?
Well, I remember the other day when somebody mentioned the Crickets at a press conference. I'd forgotten all about that. I was looking for a name like the Crickets that meant two things. And from Crickets I got to Beatles. And I changed the BEA because it didn't mean two things on its own without BEETLES. Didn't mean two things. So I changed the E to the A. And it meant two things then.
What two things specifically? The beat, the music?
Yeah. I mean, it didn't have to mean two things, but it said, it was beat and Beatles, and when you said it, people thought of Crawley things, and when you read it, it was beat music.
Why did you decide upon the long hair and so forth for all of the members of the group? What was the reason for that?
We didn't decide on it. The only reason I didn't have long hair at 13 was because I kept getting told to get it off. I've always liked it, and when I met George, Paul, and Ringo, they've always liked it. We just bumped into each other. We didn't have it the same as this, but it was long,
So actually, it wasn't something you decided to do when the group was formed. You all had long hair before the group.
Yeah, sometimes we'd have it short. I've got photos of me with it longer than it is now, and shorter, much shorter. We used to just vary how we felt,
How long has the group been a group, actually?
Well, I'm losing count now. I think it's about 5 years, probably. That's not including Ringo. He's been with us about 3.
When your records first started coming over here, did you have any? Did you wonder whether or not they would be successful as they were in England at the time?
We didn't think we stood a chance in Heath. We just didn't imagine it at all. We didn't even bother. We were just even when we came over to America the first time, we were only coming over to buy LPs. I know our manager had plans for Ed Sullivan shows, but we thought at least we'll hear the sounds when we get over there.
So it was just, you had no idea that your success would be so great and so powerful as it is today?
It was just out of the dark, that's the truth. It's so out of the dark. We were knocked out we didn't know what happened.
Well, what made you decide to form a group such as you did? What was the reason for that?
Well, about the time of rock and roll in Britain, I think I was about 15, so it'd be 1955. There was a big thing called skiffle, which is a kind of folk music, American folk music, only sort of jing with washboards. And all the kids, 15 onwards, used to have these groups, and I formed one at school. And then I met Paul, I had this group, and then I met Paul, then I met George, and that's the way it went. We changed to rock, and that was all there was to it.
When did you cut your first record?
I haven't a clue. That must be about 1.5 years, 2 years ago.
And what was the reaction to it publicly in England?
It only sold in Liverpool. Over the rest of Britain, it didn't, nobody bought it there. About half a dozen people did. But it sold so many in Liverpool the first 2 days, because they were all waiting for us to make it, that the dealers down in London thought there's a fiddle on. Mr. Epstein, fella up there, is cheating, They didn't believe it. When they wrote in requests for it for the radio programs, they wouldn't play it, because they thought it was a cheat. Because all the requests and everything came from Liverpool.
Now, here in the United States and in Los Angeles in particular, there are, the music lists on most of the radio stations that play Beatle music are predominantly Beatle records. Now, is this the same situation in England? Do they play several of your hits at one time, or do they just play 1 or 2 records? Whereas we have maybe a half a dozen or more at one time on the charts.
No, they never do that because, not on the sort of BBC. The commercial radio doesn't either. They always give equal sort of spots to everybody. The only time you get more than one track usually is when they're playing LPs. They just play a new single, and when that's sort of going down, they'll turn it over and play the B-side.
Is there any one particular thing that you can lay your finger on that was the big break for you and your success today?
I haven't a clue. Probably just making the second record when it was #1.
Just your constant persistence and just keeping on with it.
I don't know about it. We didn't even think of it like that. We just thought we were making another record and it was better than the first one. Let's see what it does, And when it was #1, we thought that was the end of the world. That was it.
I understand the crowds in England that turn out to see you are not quite on the large scale that they are here in the so many thousands. Like in Vancouver, you had something like more than 20,000 in a football stadium, and here the Hollywood Bowl, you had 17,000. How does this compare with the turnout in the British Isles?
Well, in Britain, there's not half as many people, probably not a quarter. And when we play a British theatre, it only holds 2,000, the maximum. That's the largest. They're like the old music hall things that you don't even have over here. The real old, these theatres were built years ago, or even cinemas we play. It's like going around all the cinemas. There's nothing like 20,000 crowds. The only time you get that is for football.
How do you feel about the reaction of teenage America, young America, to your music, and the way they show their appreciation of the Beatle music by their screaming and their shrieking and their cheering?
Oh, well,
especially when you're performing. This is what I mean. You can hardly. The predominant sound, of course, is the enthusiasm from the audience.
Yeah. Well, we played for about 4 or 5 years, being completely heard. And it was good fun, and it's just as good fun to play being not heard and being more popular. They pay the money. If they want to scream, we scream. Literally, we're just screaming at their money with guitars. Everybody's screaming, there's no harm in it.
Getting back to the Hollywood Bowl, I was the chap that drove the car out of the bowl for the other night. I wonder if you...
Best of luck to you.
First time I've ever done anything like that, but could I write to you for a recommendation, put that in my resume if I want to apply for, getaway jobs in the future?
Definitely. When we sort of met him outside the place, he was shaking, but as soon as he got on the wheel, he was all right.
It was kind of a short ride. The whole thing actually took less than 5 minutes. It really went off so beautifully. I was really surprised.
Well, that was because it was organised by our road manager, Neil, instead of 99 other people, including police officers, record company people, promoters, which is what normally happens. About 19 people arrange. I'll give in.
Seems as though the element of surprise is the most important thing as far as getting you safely out of your performance area.
Yeah, but we've just got fed up thinking about getting away. Somebody does that for us. If they don't get us away, all right, we sleep the night somewhere. It's never happened, but, there's no need worrying. It's not going to kill us, is it? Unless they get us, mind you.
Have you ever been physically mobbed and in a situation where that you actually feared for your safety and your personal welfare?
Once in New Zealand, it was a bit rough. I thought, definitely, big clump of my hair had gone. I don't mean just a bit. I was halfway on the ground. I thought, hello. Must be just like a red, when you get crushed. Because they put about 3 policemen on for 3,000 or 4,000 kids. And they refused to put any more on. They said, we've had all sorts over here, we've seen them all. And they had seen them all as we crushed to the ground, but apart from that, it was all right. That was it.
I know that the success of the Beatles will probably continue for a long time, but eventually It will taper off. That's not a prediction. That's just the way things go. Now, what do you plan for the future? I realize this is your career right now, but do you have any particular specialization that you care to make, like writing for motion pictures, or just continuing to write music, or what exactly?
I don't know. I could just get asked this all the time, every day, and I wish I could think of just a straight answer, like I want to be a man who walks with his left leg in the gutter. I can't. I wouldn't mind writing songs. I wouldn't mind just singing, to a limited audience. See, my voice might improve when I get older. I think they do, Or I wouldn't mind just writing books.
When did you write your first book?
Over a period of years, most of it was written last year.
Do you plan another one in the very near future?
Yeah, I plan the more the merrier. If people like it as much as I do, I'll bring out millions,
You just write because you enjoy it, not because you had any particular idea that the books would be popular or catch on, did you?
No, I was writing it before I was a Beatle. I was doing that stuff. Not exactly the same, but similar kind of stuff. I always sort of fancied making a book. I didn't think anybody ever would. I thought, if I showed it to anybody, they'd just say, go away, son, go back to school. But they didn't, did they? That's surprising, that.
What is specifically your educational background in England?
Junior school, grammar school, which I failed miserably, but great at art, folks. And so the headmaster recommended me to go to art school. He said, if he doesn't go there, he may as well just pack up life, pack up living, you see. So he arranged for me to go to art school, which I went to for 5 years and failed there too. But developed a great sense of humour and met some great people and had a laugh. And then I played rock and roll. Of course, I was playing rock and roll during all this time, grammar school and art school. Developing like the basic form with the music.
What exactly is the type of area that you were raised and brought up in Liverpool? Could you kind of give us a picture of what it's like over there as opposed to where you're sitting right now, for instance?
Well, it's not all that different from this, because this is a bit of a dump, really. But most Americans think we came out sort of slums. I think Ringo came out of the lousiest area. He doesn't care. He probably had more fun there. And I call them semi-detached. That's sort of houses, half one house and half another house, sort of upper middle class, they don't exactly own the shops, but they're one of those people, the ones that don't think they speak with an accent, but they do. Those people say, how do you do? It's very nice to meet you, thank you very much. And they think they're speaking Oxford English, but they're all right people, you need them, I suppose.
They kind of help make the world go round. Remember the other night at the airport we were discussing Dave Hull.
Remember that?
Yeah. Do you remember that? The other morning at the airport when he came in and we were putting him on about him using the Beatles to take over Southern California?
Oh, that was right, giving our addresses away to get popular. Find this one, Dave.
Dave is working. I think he's off by now. He gets off at midnight. He's going to be at the airport tomorrow morning. You're going to have a few words for him when you see him?
Yeah, I'll give him a few of the Rolling Stones addresses for a laugh.
Anything that you care to say in closing, John, about Los Angeles and about your visit here and about the tour so far here in America?
Good night and thanks for the bread.